been. And at these times, these disappointments don't make sense. You may be going through them right now. These disappointments don't make sense. One of my teammates that I played with through juniors, he ended up quitting hockey, went to school in San Diego, a school called Point Loma, private Christian school university. And in this last bit of season, I applied just for the heck of it. Didn't think I'd ever go, but hockey wasn't looking so good. And quite frankly, the only thing that gave me peace was to walk away from the game. One night, like I said, before playoffs, it was the last bit of the season, and things were not going well with my family. And I opened my Bible, this children's Bible, way better with the pictures, right? Sitting next to my bed. For some reason, it had been sitting there, just constantly, open me, open me, open me. I opened it to Genesis 22, to a story of Abraham and Isaac, where Abraham is called to sacrifice his one and only son, much like what God did for us with Jesus Christ. He's called to take his son up to a mountain and sacrifice him. Can you imagine that? How tough that would be for him. I'll continue with that story later, but I felt God asking me, Stephen, what are you going to sacrifice? What are you going to give up for me? Would you give up the game of hockey to follow me? That sat in my heart, and as the season went on, I eventually had a bunch of Division III offers. Schools didn't fall through, and I held on to Genesis 22:7. It says, "Indeed, I will greatly bless you, and I will greatly multiply your seed as the stars of the heavens and the sands of the seashore. And your seed shall possess the gate of your enemies. In your seed, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." You have obeyed my voice. So I had a decision to make. Hockey or no hockey? Play Division III. For me, I didn't think that was worth all the hard work I put in. Quite frankly, I just wanted to get away from the game. You guys may never think it, but the day will come when you don't lace up the skates anymore. For some of you, it may come quicker than others, but here's the glory and here's the peace, is that hockey's not everything. And quite frankly, when I was on a vacation with my family, remember that prayer I used to pray every night? "Dear Lord, please give me a Division I scholarship." In my heart, I had already made the decision to go to school in San Diego, hang up the skates, go surfing every day. In my heart, I made that decision. I got a phone call from a Division I school offering me a scholarship. Came out and visited, but something wasn't right. Ironically, the thing that I'd once given my left leg for wasn't worth it anymore, because once I realized what God was calling me to give up, I'm not saying everyone should turn this down, but for me, in order to get my faith walk centered on God, and offer up this sacrifice to God, much like Abraham had to do with his son, that's what I decided to do. Not knowing what was next, I went to San Diego, and it was this hard time, right? All of you guys play hockey. You guys come here in the summers, you guys go to camps during the summer, you guys go to practice 4 or 5 days a week. When does church happen? When does time with your friends and talking about Christ happen? It's hard. I understand that. And for me, my identity was wrapped up in it. Hockey was my idol. And so when you get out of the game, you have to find your identity in something else. And that's Christ. That's the only thing that will fill that void, was my point earlier. I missed hockey so much. And remember, I turned down a Division I offer, and at one point I was begging for a Division III offer at Christmas time. I paced around my house for 2 days, and I had to make a decision to make. A school in New York offered me a position, Division III school, back and forth, back and forth. I said no, I said yes. I said no, I said yes. Eventually, I said yes, booked a plane ticket on December 26th, and I came back on December 29th from New York. I was there for 2 days. Can you imagine the ridicule from my friends and family? What are you doing? Get your life together. Why are you flying over the nation? You can't waste all this money figuring out what your major is, who you are, if you want to play hockey or you don't want to play hockey. But I can't explain to you the peace that I felt when I left that place in New York. I thought it was because I was supposed to be done with hockey. But quite frankly, it was because God had somewhere else planned for me. I went back to school in San Diego, and sure enough, the feelings of hockey crept back in. So I went on my knees and prayed a bold prayer on the cliffs of San Diego, and I said, "Lord, take these feelings of hockey and make them your will. Whatever it is, if it's never lacing the skates up again, if it's going out there, and if I'm playing college, I'm tired of looking at the scores and worrying about what my friends are doing and what it should have, could have been. Take it, it's over, it's yours. Your will be done." A few weeks later, I applied to a few different Division III schools, and a school called Bethel University. I never heard of it. I ended up getting a phone call from the coach, and private Christian school, they have hockey. Never heard of it, much like HMI. It's funny how things work, guys. That God may have something in store for you whenever you just hold on and obey Him. I ended up going to play at the school at Bethel University where I became what Rob talks about being a godly man. I pursued God. I've been poured into men who have discipled me. And I'm not going to say things are easy, and I'm going to tell you that I went into the season in Division III thinking that I'd be the starting goalie. 2 weeks into captain's practices, I had a high ankle sprain. Was out for 6 months, ended up playing 6 games that year. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to get on a plane and go back to a beach in San Diego, negative 20 degrees. How many times that I had to fill up water bottles before practice when my teammates got to play. How many times I had to sit on the bus, 6-hour bus rides, and, hey man, good game. To choose every day, to choose joy. How hard that is. But to know that God had a plan at the end. And at the end of this year, through several conversations with my friends, something that may have never happened if I would have left this place. Several kids in the team gave their life to Christ over a cup of coffee with me. Not me, but God was using me because I chose to lean into it. Because I chose to battle the adversity. And I realized that I want to tell you guys, the biggest message is that hockey is just a tool to use and share with others. He's given you this ability, this skill, to know how to affect other people. And you know what? I'm in the middle of a struggle right now. A week ago, at this very time, I could be sitting in Minnesota trying out for the Minnesota Wild. Cool, right? That's great. But to me, that's an absolute miracle that that chance could even happen, because I never thought I was good enough. But until I started to choose and believe that God had a plan for me and that I did deserve greatness, and God wanted a great thing for me, things started to change. But you know what? I could sit here and tell you, oh, that's awful. I'm not on the ice right now. And 3 days later, I tore my MCL. Another bad thing, right? But God's great. God's awesome. I'd rather be here talking to you guys than lace up the skates in one NHL game. I promise you that. That the salvation of you guys is way more important to me than a silly game. And to know that God's giving me that perspective, that through my struggles, I can have a better perspective than the last time where I moped around when I had a hard time. But this time I can see that God has joy, God is great, God will heal, God will bless. So the rest of that story about Abraham in Genesis 22, what happened? Abraham went up to the mountain, just about to sacrifice his one and only son. God provided that sacrifice with a ram in the thicket. And just like me, when I went to Point Loma, offered up hockey as a sacrifice, he made a way, an avenue for the love, things, and passion for to still pursue with hockey ministries, with Bethel, with potentially playing pro hockey next year. You see, I don't know what is in store for my life. I don't know what's in store for your guys' life. But I know that if God's tugging on your heart to make a decision, much like I did 13 years ago, that decision will change the course of your life. And it's the best decision you'll ever make, but it's the hardest decision you'll ever make. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's the only thing that matters. Rob talked about it last night, and my life has been full of heavenly blessings ever since I chose to obey Him. So I want to leave you guys with this, is 2 John 1:6. And this love, that we walk in obedience to His commands. As you have heard from the beginning, His command is that you walk in love. Guys, when we obey God,